Jared, the other thing that happened overnight is that the NBA has now postponed games in large part as a result of a protest or boycott by the players. This relates to the sort of larger Black Lives Matter issue. Does the White House support the players and the owners in this case?
Look, I think that the NBA players are very fortunate that they have the financial position where they're able to take a night off from work without having to have the consequences to themselves financially. So they have that luxury, which is great.
First of all, we don't know that. There's a chance they lose game checks. Secondly, 99% of players don't make LeBron money. And thirdly, we're going to talk about fortunate financial positions, Jared. You want to talk about that? He continued.
People don't like seeing what's happening in a lot of these cities. President Trump has been very strong to say we don't want violence in these cities, but we just have to take this conversation from an emotional one to a constructive one and say, what are the policies that we can agree on? We all agree on where we want things to go. President Trump has a policy platform, but it would be great if we can all come together on a policy platform that will lead forward and actually start executing. And you'll hear President Trump talk about that tonight and on the campaign, which is that a lot of people in Washington have failed these inner cities for a long time. And quite frankly, as a former Democrat, Andrew, we know each other from New York. I was a Democrat too, but coming to Washington and now that I'm a Trump Republican, I do feel like the Democrats have run these cities for a long time and you have nothing but failure and broken promises.
He's such a grifter. He believes in absolutely nothing, Jared Kushner. I love that he pointed out that he's a former Democrat and now he's a Trump Republican, now that it's convenient for him to be a Republican because he gets to have a powerful position in the White House. But more than any party affiliation, Jared Kushner is a privileged, wealthy, racist white man. And that came out very clearly in this interview in his SMUG reaction to these historic NBA and other league protests. So, no, first of all, to address what he said, we don't agree where we need to go policy-wise. Trump and the Republicans have sat on and squashed any attempts of police reform, even though they trotted out Tim Scott, the only black Republican in the Senate, to talk about it. They haven't done anything since then in the Senate, let alone, obviously, coronavirus relief. Come on, please. So they haven't done anything. And Trump hasn't even addressed the Jacob Blake shooting. He hasn't said anything about it. So Kushner's talking about inner cities. This is not about inner cities. A cop just shot a man who appeared to be unarmed 7 times in the small of his back as he was trying to get into his car. That's what we're talking about, not inner cities. We don't agree where we need to go policy-wise because Republicans don't want to end qualified immunity. They want to protect cops from prosecution. That's a non-starter. And secondly, I am so sick of white racists using the fact that some athletes make millions of dollars because, again, 99% of them don't make LeBron money. I said that earlier. But there's a huge discrepancy in the lower class of the league and the top of the league, more specifically in the NFL, where it's basically egregious. They have, in these leagues, just a small window of 3 to 5 sometimes years to capitalize on their God-given talents and make money for themselves and their families that can be generational wealth and be passed down, and they often come from poor communities. So, I mean, it's ridiculous to say that they're, so rich and they have this luxury. You're a Kushner dude and you're married to a Trump. We're going to talk about that. You got this job because your daddy-in-law gave it to you. They got their job through hard work and God-given talent. I don't believe in God, but whatever. Through extreme talent. And I guarantee you all of the NBA players worked 100 times harder than you ever had in your entire life. So they use that as an excuse to dismiss them. When it's Trump, though, and the fact that he has millions of dollars that he inherited, by the way. Oh, he's a businessman. It makes him a very serious person. So black man uses his talents to make some money in this small window and for the rest of his family. Well, we don't have to listen to him. White man inherits a ton of money. By the way, bungles it and goes into multiple bankruptcies. Oh, he's incredibly smart. He's a smart businessman. So I will reiterate, Kushner's going on TV talking about everything Trump's doing for the black community, whatever, garbage. He still hasn't commented on Jacob Blake. Even as President Donald Trump loudly pledges to restore law and order to a Wisconsin city gripped by protests, he has remained silent on what prompted the unrest, another police shooting of a black man. The absence of any presidential statement about the shooting that left 29-year-old Jacob Blake partially paralyzed underscores the fraught approach to safety and policing Trump is adopting as he runs for re-election. While he railed against Democratic authorities for allowing violence in their cities, he has largely brushed off the events and circumstances that led to the unrest. Trump still hasn't addressed the incident itself, choosing to focus instead on the ensuing protests and the state's Democratic governor. We will not stand for looting, arson, violence, and lawlessness on American streets. My team just got off the phone with Governor Evers, who agreed to accept federal assistance. Portland should do the same. Trump wrote, "Today I will be sending federal law enforcement and the National Guard to Kenosha, Wisconsin to restore law and order," he added. Jesus. You know what would restore law and order, dude? Addressing the problem. But that's beyond his comprehension. Doing anything to protect black people in America. Anything at all. These people are disgusting. That's all I gotta say.